All right, welcome to another episode of Otherworldly Encounters with Mike and Brian. How you doing today, bud?
Doing good, man. It was a nice July 4th weekend. Fireworks, beers, grilling. Hard to complain about that.
Yeah, I have no complaints, man. I
Beautiful
golfed.
weather here in Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, I golfed. I did that. I can't say I golfed well, but I'm pretty sure our listeners know this at this point.
Yeah,
So,
we never do. We're real good at driving the cart and drinking beer.
yeah, absolutely. All right, for all our listeners out there, we got an exciting one today.
Yeah.
We've got Brian's buddy Sean. Sean, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Sean. I am Brian's buddy.
Love it.
My name is Sean. I am originally from Northwest Ohio. I spent about 18 and a half years in Los Angeles, but moved back to Northwest Ohio due to pandemic fallout about 2.5 years ago. And since then, I've got some stories for you.
Oh, that's excellent. And to our listeners, what Sean's going to bring to the table today is he's got a couple UFO personal experiences.
Yeah.
And from what my understanding is, he does have a picture. However, we'll got to figure out how to be able to show that to everybody. So,
Yeah.
but before we kick things off and get into it, let's talk about our weapons of choice tonight.
Yeah. So I'll start. I've got in front of me a delicious, very chilled Blue Moon.
Is this one going to erupt like the last one?
I hope not. Yeah, I grabbed one from the front of my fridge, so hopefully it's not frozen.
Awesome. All right, Sean, what are you drinking tonight, bud?
I just got an ice water, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm all out of booze and there's no time to run to the store, so I guess I'll just be good today.
Yeah, that works. I am going with the Brewdog Hellcat Iron Maiden
Yeah. Heavy metal to the core, baby.
IPA. All right, here we go. We'll crack them open and get started.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Sean. So, why don't you go ahead and start maybe telling, like, when was your first experience with a UFO?
I've had two in my life in terms of actually seeing them. The first time was July of 2022, approximately 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I had just moved back home to Northwest Ohio it was like right before Christmas. So I'd been back in town for about 6 months or so. As part of my moving back experience, I basically had to take a job working second shift at a factory, and not a very fun experience. I don't recommend it, but nonetheless, it was a nice July evening. I had come back, and at the time, my house was getting some renovations done on it. So I was living in my mom's basement, the American dream. And, but fortunately for me, she did have a nice basement, and the back doors to it's kind of like the house is built on a hill. So the basement, it has basement doors that open up, and it in the backyard is like this really nice pond and like a deck you can sit on and that type of thing. So like I said, it was a nice night. It was after work. I'm talking roughly 2 o'clock in the morning. And I decided, it's really nice out. Let me just put on a pair of shorts, sit on the dock, and just enjoy the evening, crack open a beer or whatever. So I'm sitting on the dock, and it's a really beautiful night out. And I decided to start taking some pictures with my phone and looking around at the night sky, taking pictures. And then all of a sudden, I see what at first I thought was like a firework. It was very high in the sky, but then it shot down and to the right, then did like a 90-degree turn to shoot down to the left. Then it did another 90-degree turn to shoot down to the right again, and then finished off by doing a half circle behind some trees. Which, yeah.
Now,
So-
did you think this was a drone? Like, what kind of? Because
Right.
obviously
No.
I'm familiar with the house. Like, is this a long way away?
what-
Close?
Right. So what I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you guys a photo right now to Brian's phone.
Okay.
Now this is, as I mentioned, I had been taking pictures of the backyard that night with the pond and whatnot. And so this isn't a picture of a UFO. I have that for my second experience. But for this one, I'll just show you kind of the flight path. So
Okay.
this was one of the pictures I took of the backyard. I have drawn on the picture the flight path of what I saw. And it starts in that upper left-hand corner of the photo. And like I said, darts down to the right, down to the left, down to the right, and then a half circle behind trees. And yeah, so like I said, because it came out of nowhere and was so bright and moved so fast, my brain instantly just related it to a firework. But like I said, it darted in a direction where fireworks can't dart. It moved too fast for any drone that I've ever seen. And it didn't have any noise at all. It was complete dead silence. You would never have known.
So
And
so just real quick, Sean, because you said it's a firework, like what kind of distance away from you are? So we're looking at the photo right now. I've got it pulled up on my screen. Mike and I are both looking at it. We're looking across the pond. We see your kind of layout sketch of where you're talking about. Like, do you have any kind of idea of distance away from you, or
so it's hard for me to judge. I would say,
How many
Let me
acres?
put you-
How many acre pond is
Right.
that? Just out of curiosity.
I'm gonna just guess 3.
yeah, that's what I would guess too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for our listeners out there, that we're currently looking at a photo, and it's you got a pond, and across the pond you see looks like maybe some other houses.
Yep.
All right.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of like a little community of houses around a giant pond.
Okay.
They all share it, and
Yeah.
so there's other houses around there.
Yeah. And so when you were seeing this, other than you said, I believe you said it was like a white light.
Yes, it was.
Was there any
It
other?
was solid white.
Okay, so there's
It
no
was-
other
it was-
like blinking, flashing lights or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
No, it was solid white, and like I said, it moved at speeds incredibly faster than any type of thing that I've ever seen in the sky before.
And that's obviously
Like, it was-
not a typical flight pattern for any type of
Right.
No.
like
Yeah, like-
aircraft.
Imagine, like, have you guys ever seen a shooting star in the sky?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, where it's like you see the shooting star, and if someone asks you how far away is that, it's like you could give them a distance, but you're not gonna really know. It could be farther or closer away. It's hard to really say. But like it moved at speeds, I would say, similar or faster to that of a shooting star, but it maintained a constant brightness, never made a single sound. And like I said, it started high in the sky and basically went down to the ground. And as you can see in the photograph, there are tall trees in the distance behind, in the foreground is someone's house. You can see that lit up in the pond.
Right.
Behind them is a bunch of trees. I later pulled it up on my map to see if I could estimate where I thought this UFO could have, quote unquote, landed or had been. And I would, so I don't want to name names, but Brian and I obviously are friends. We have mutual friends. Do you know the guy that graduated with me named Cameron?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I would estimate it landed approximately around that area.
So that's what I was asking. So it's interesting. So like when you're talking about this, and so what you're saying makes sense to me, but to relay this to viewers, when I was asking about distance, what I was talking about is like, is this like 20,000 feet in the sky or something? But no, like based on what you're talking about, and I know kind of roughly where we're at and how far we're talking, this is probably give or take, I don't know, a third of a mile to half a mile away from you.
Right. Yeah, that seems about accurate.
Yeah.
And in the flight pattern that you drew on there, I mean that's 3 right angles, and then obviously the half circle. I mean that's. I mean when it was say at its highest, and it was going down, to the right before it made its first 90. Was it like a gradual like turn, or was it just going from left to right and then just started going down?
Yeah, I mean, all I, it's it happened so quick and so fast that my brain had a hard time just processing it.
Right.
But like, I would say, the whole thing from the time I saw it to the time it disappeared behind the trees, we're talking like maybe half a second. Like,
Mm.
instead of like saying 1/1000, you would go 1 and boom, it's over.
So it made all those maneuvers in that short
Yeah,
amount of time.
yeah.
What about in terms of size, Sean? Like, are we talking something like the size of a laser pointer? Are we talking something the size of a 737, or what? In terms of like relative
Right.
scale and size.
Right. So I mean, it's hard for me to say because, like I said, when you look at a plane in the sky, if someone said, "How big is that really?" I'm not going to be able to tell you. I'm not in terms of size and distance, and especially something like moving that fast. I couldn't say. But like if you just want me to throw something out as a total guess,
Yeah.
I would say like imagine like call it something the size of like a private plane or a little bigger. But again, all I'm seeing is just essentially a ball of light, like you would see on like a shooting star type of thing.
And to Sean's point, I mean, with distance, everything's gonna look a little bit smaller anyway, right? So
Hmm.
it could be the size of a Cessna from where he's sitting, but in all reality, it could be a 737,
Hmm.
727, whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. But
Okay.
that was, to give you a little background in terms of my paranormal history, I've always believed in aliens. I've never seen anything in my life before this. You know, I to My dad is probably the one who initially introduced me to the concept of it because he claims to have seen, he grew up in the same area. And he claims when he was around, 10, 12, that he was outside playing basketball one day, looked up in the sky, and saw a bright light that was zipping around like crazy, and then two fighter jets that were trying to follow it but couldn't before it finally just disappeared.
Wow.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
so
Oh,
that kind of
Dennis,
that
you're gonna have to be on here at some point. If you ever listen to this, just know that's coming.
For sure.
Okay.
so that was kind of his introduction to. That's why he got an interest in it. And so when he brought us up, I think a lot of people that will talk about aliens will bring up this point, but just to the sheer vastness of space, you would think mathematically speaking, we cannot be alone in the universe. The
So,
question is, of course, whether or not we're being visited by them.
so Sean,
But
take us through like what your thoughts and feelings were at this point, right? You just got off shift. You just
right. So that's what I
cracked
was
open,
leading into.
yeah,
So
cracked open
this was
some.
something I had always believed in, but never had witnessed. So once I was faced with something that I could not deny seeing, my first thought was, holy shit, I just saw a UFO. My second thought was, where did that thing land? And I brought up my phone and my GPS to like look at a map to try to estimate where I thought it went. Then my next thought was, dude, get your clothes on, drive out there, see if you can see something.
Hell
And then
yes.
my
Travis
and then my
Walton,
very
here
next
we come.
and then my very next thought was, dude, this isn't a fucking game. You know what you saw. You could potentially drive out there and find what you're looking for. Do you really want to find that thing? And I was like, you know what? Hell no. I'm going
I guess
inside.
the real question is, how bad do you want to get probed at that point?
Right.
So
Exactly.
now, okay,
Because
so
and that's
let's talk about that for a
well,
second though. So let's
sure.
just say you went with what you're originally thinking. I'm gonna drive out and see what happens, and you get there. Then what? Like, what do you think you would have been going through your mind at
Right.
that
Well,
point? Like
so
once you got there.
right. Well, that's how I talked myself out of it. Was I thought one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to take myself away from this place, I'm going to drive out there and I'm going to find nothing, and then I'm going to be like, well, that was a waste of time. Or I'm going to drive out there and I'm going to find something, and then that's just going to I'm never going to be the same. I'm going to be the crazy guy who saw an alien, UFO, whatever else. Like, because right now at least I have a case for deniability, being like, I don't know what I saw. I
Right.
know it was crazy. I know this happened, but I don't know what I saw. If I actually find an extraterrestrial vehicle, say, then now I'm not going to be able to stop thinking about that. And that's when my life is going to just take a big old turn, and I'm going to just be the weirdo that everyone says, hey, have you heard about that guy? He says he saw a UFO, you know?
And
So, and I was like,
and I don't think, like, looking at that pattern, I don't even if that would be even a drone. I guess a drone could, like a personal hobby type drone could potentially
no,
fly
well, and
in that type of thing,
here's
but it's not going to give you that size that you're describing it as
right.
being.
And the fact that, here's, I don't know if you guys have a drone or not. I do. You always have to have a light on your drone at all times, A, and B, uh, there's no way they make drones that go that fast and are that bright. And like I said, it kind of just appeared out of the high in the sky and then did that maneuver, then disappeared behind trees. You would think, had it been a drone, I would have noticed it before then, had it been that bright and flying around over there.
Sean,
Because,
how would you describe, and I think it's interesting, and I can appreciate your sentiment about saying, I don't know if I want to drive over there in case I actually find what I'm looking for. I can appreciate that. I guess
yeah.
you tell me, when you saw this and that thought goes through your head, what is it? What is it? Fear? Is it excitement?
Yes.
Is it
It was,
curiosity? Is it like what? Walk me through kind
it's
of what your
right,
mental thought of.
right.
Yeah.
So, and I told the story to my dad, who, again, like I said, was the guy who kind of got me interested in the subject to begin with. And he told me about how surprised he was that, because I'm kind of an adventurous person. He's like, that blows me away that you had that opportunity and you didn't go look for it. Like, I would have swore on a Bible that you, of all people, would have gone and done that.
Leave it to your
And I
dad
was
to
like,
be like,
yeah,
stop being a
before it
bitch.
happened to me, if you would have asked me, I would have sworn up and down that's exactly what I would have done.
Yeah.
But when actually faced with it, I was fucking scared. I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, it was like, dude, I know I saw that. I know that just happened. I don't want to go over there because, like, obviously, like, your imagination kind of runs wild in that moment, right? And I thought of myself, getting dressed, driving over there, finding it, getting out of the car, taking a closer look, and then all hell breaking loose. Like, all the bad stories that you hear are going to happen to me all of a sudden. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be that guy on the documentary talking about, getting anally probed. I don't want to do that.
You
Like,
don't want to be Travis Walton. I can appreciate that.
right.
And I will say, from my own perspective, there's this guy out there, and I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Sean. And his name's Stephen Greer, and he runs this group where he does a couple different things, but the point of this one is he has this group, and you go out and you do deep meditation, and that he's linked himself through telekinesis to these beings, and he can call upon them and like shine a laser pointer in the air, and these UFOs will show up and do different things, and he can kind of call them and whatever. But what's fascinating about it is there's actual videos of these groups coming together and doing this. It's a no drugs, no alcohol environment. It's deep meditation, and they bring these things in. And some of my friends, and you know him, Sean, Ben and I were talking about it, and Ben was like, let's do this. And I was like, you know what? Just in case this actually works, I don't know that I want anything to do with it. So that is the exact
Exactly.
same mindset that you're talking about. So I can appreciate that, of like, oh shit, this might be real. I don't know that I want to deal with it. So
Right.
let's advance the story. So this happens, you're having that conversation, and then what? You just sit there and wait to see if something
Okay.
else happens, or what?
Right. So, all right. So this is where the story takes a little bit of a weird turn, and I don't know how to really relate this to any other UFO story, but this is my experience. So after I decided, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go see this thing. I continue to then just relax. I continue to take pictures of the pond for about, we'll call it 5 to 10 minutes. This goes on. And then all of a sudden, I just had that light bulb moment of, like, snapped into my head. I'm like, dude, I cannot believe that you're just pretending like you didn't see what you saw. Like, I legit, it did not take much effort for me, someone who is a believer, someone who's interested in this subject, to just be like, nah, that didn't happen. and then just go about my day and pretend like nothing happened. Like, it was weird to slip back into that mindset. But then something weird happened. Like I said, like it wasn't long after I had this thought. And this is how I'm going to describe it. I don't know if you guys have ever been, and the reason I can describe it this way is because it had recently happened to me. So I was at a lake in Tennessee, and I saw, sometimes, you have rain clouds that are traveling at a certain speed, and especially over a lake, it's very visible, but you can kind of see like this wall of rain coming towards you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so it's like, it's a weird thing where it's like you can hear the rain and in the daytime in a pond or a lake, whatever, you can see the rain coming at you, but then of course eventually gets to you and it's just like a regular rainy day. So all of a sudden I hear what I think to be rain. And again, it's dark though, so I can't see anything, but I'm positive what I'm hearing is rain, and it's getting louder and louder. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be cool. I'm going to sit here on the dock. I'm just going to wait for the rain cloud to reach me, and it's going to rush over me, and then I'm going to get wet and nice and whatever. Then I'll have a nice excuse to go inside. And I wait and I wait and I wait, and it's not, there's no rain coming. And all of a sudden I realize I'm not listening to rain. It's more like a static. It's like, like white noise from a TV channel that isn't working properly. And the static gets louder and louder, and then all of a sudden it just stops. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, it was a loud, like I said, it sounded like rain at first. Then I realized it was just kind of white noise static, and then it just stopped. And then after that, I was like, yo, I don't know if those two things are related, but I'm done now. I'm out of here. And that's when I legit got actual scared. And I know this is going to sound so stupid, but when you're that scared, you do stupid things. I literally walked back inside the house, locked the door, because that's what you're supposed to do. But then, I went into my bedroom and locked the door, as if that's going to stop an alien. I know.
Did you get any? Did you fill up any glasses of water?
Buffer. I needed that extra protection, that little security blanket, the security theater, if you will.
Did you walk around your house and place glasses of water in strategic places?
I did not do that. No, I just went to bed and tried to drive it out of my head to go to sleep. But no, I was legit scared. Like I thought something, they were doing something. And of course, again, your imagination runs away with you. I'm not going to say it's for sure a UFO, but my gut instinct says yes, it was.
So just to clarify real quick, Sean, because you had talked about being at a lake in Tennessee. Is this all the same event behind your mom's house, or are those two separate things?
No, those are two separate things.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to relate because, it was like a few weeks prior, I'd been to the lake and I'd witnessed,
gotcha.
The rain cloud. It's like you hear the rain coming towards you, getting louder and louder. Because, the sound of, say, rain, or the sound of bacon frying, the sound of white noise on a TV, they're all very similar.
Right.
So Brian, this is kind of, sorry, Sean, not to cut you off. This is kind of interesting because, Brian, you and I have talked about kind of correlation, right? Like number 7 and some different things. So if you think of Fravor, Graves, their UFOs around water, Sean's around water, 2 separate incidents around water, is there, why is water seem to be so prevalent in some of these UFO, UAP type sightings, I wonder?
It's a good question.
Sean, do you have any theories on that?
I mean, the first thing that jumps to mind, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, are there's the theory of that there's UFO bases under the water in various spots of the ocean. There's also the theory that's perhaps there was an ancient civilization that they kind of make their base down there, and they've been here this whole time. They're just a lot more technologically advanced than us. There's also the theory of interdimensional beings and how part of how they travel is through various frequencies, and the frequency of water makes it easier for them to travel between the dimensions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows what it is? I think hopefully eventually one day we'll find out. But as of right now, all we can do is just theorize and guess.
I think it's interesting you bring it up, and it's interesting as we get more advanced with videography and you see different people be able to pick things up based on different spectrums of light that cameras are able to pull
Right.
into their aperture. So like the jellyfish UAP that we just talked about last week, one of the things that was interesting is there were ground troops that were in the area that could not see this thing, and it was only this specific camera on the kind of like drone that was hovering over the base for security purposes picked this thing up. So to your point about, you know, dimensional beings or whatever, the human mind and eye is only able to perceive so much of that spectrum, and do these things exist constantly and just outside of our ability to see them?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, well, the human eye only sees a tiny fraction of what actually exists. I mean, we don't see radio waves. They're out there around us. We don't see Wi-Fi waves. They're around us.
Yeah.
Like there's all these different frequencies transmitting tons of different information that we are completely oblivious to. And a great point of that, I'm sure you guys probably saw this on your social media feeds recently, but in Ohio, you could see the, I'm going to mispronounce it, but the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
I think it's called, like, you know, the basically like the little lights in the sky that are caused by the Earth's magnetic field.
The northern lights for the
Correct.
layman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's very rare, but you know, everyone kept saying, "Oh, you can see the lights. You can see the lights." And you know, I looked up at the sky, couldn't see it at all. And then you take a picture with your camera, and you know, a lot of that, or with your cell phone camera, and a lot of cameras these days, they automatically know you're trying to take it in dark light, so to do a really long exposure. And I saw people posting these beautiful, gorgeous pictures on social media. I'm like, well, I didn't see that at all. And I talked to them about it, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, my camera's exposure was on a lot longer, so then those colors and lights and stuff are a lot more visible that way.
Right.
So it's like even within our light spectrum, if we only had the ability to see just a little bit more, allow a little bit more light in, we would be amazed at what we could see, I'm sure.
Well, it's just like, you know, with paranormal investigators, they use different cameras on their investigations just for that sole purpose of trying to capture something in a wave, you know, a frequency or whatever that we just cannot see with our own human eyes.
Yeah, the same is true with audio as well. I was once part of a ghost expedition on a house that was close to the Manson murders, and I was there with people that actually knew what they were doing. I was just kind of like a spectator. But one of the things that they did that I thought was pretty cool was they had all these different audio recorders, and all the audio recorders were recording on a different frequency. And every so often, well, we were doing like a seance and asking questions or whatnot. And every so often we'd go back and we'd listen to it. And what was bizarre is, you know, I'm in the room, I'm watching everyone hit record and stop. It's not like, you know, on YouTube where you think, oh, they could be faking this. Like, I'm there, I'm witnessing it happening in real time. And sometimes we would ask a question, and the first two people would play their tape and there's nothing. The third guy would play his tape, and you can hear like a human voice response. And so it's like, wow, that's just wild how, you know, with our own ears, we didn't hear anything. These two different recorders on different frequencies didn't hear anything. But the one on that little separate frequency, that picks something up.
Yeah, I mean,
Like there's
some of those paranormal investigators, they use those boxes, and you can actually hear the static through them, and it's going through so many different frequencies, you know, every
the
second.
spirit boxes.
Yeah, the spirit boxes. Yeah, absolutely. And eventually, you may or may not hear some type of voice come through. So that does add credence to what you're talking about, that there different frequencies can capture different things. We just don't know always know exactly what that frequency may be.
Yeah.
Right. All right, you guys ready for the second UFO story?
Well, I thought that the Tennessee was the second one.
No, you guys haven't. So this is the one with the actual photographic evidence. I gave you guys a picture.
Yeah, fucking break that out. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So, get this. So that was the first experience was July 2022. This last experience happened just this past November 2023.
Okay.
But it happens in the exact same spot, the same pond behind my mom's house, same sky. But this time, I A, had another witness with me, and B, have photographic evidence because it lasted a lot longer.
Okay.
Oh,
So I'm gonna send Brian the pictures now.
Okay.
All right, there's two. I was able to take two. One is these are actual two separate photos. The second one is when I zoomed in on it. So as we mentioned a little earlier,
oh, that's
um,
cool.
your your camera can detect when the night sky is happening, and will just kind of take a longer exposure to allow more light in, so you can see the what you're supposed to be taking a picture of a lot better. As a consequence of having a longer exposure, however, any movement within the photo is going to come out blurry. So it is a little blurry, unfortunately. But let me tell you the story to give you the context for the photos. So I have a step brother, an actual brother, and then a step sister who was married and had her little boy, and I think he's around 10, 12, something like that. And the step brother and step sister and her family were visiting from California. And so I think this was around Thanksgiving, and that's why they were in town. I don't remember if it was the same weekend or a different weekend, but it doesn't matter. But they came over, we're visiting, and my step nephew really wanted to go fishing. I guess that's his thing when he comes over to his grandma's house, is he wants to go in the back pond and go fishing. So I came over, he's like, "All right, you want to go fishing?" Yeah, okay, let's go fishing. So me, my brother, and my stepbrother and my nephew are all out the back fishing. It's nighttime. And the stepbrother goes to go to the bathroom. My brother, one of the reels got caught up on something, so he goes inside to fix it. And so it's just me and the step nephew outside. And I'm like playing on my phone or who knows what. I'm not big into fishing. And all of a sudden he goes, "What's that?" And I look up, I see him pointing in the sky, and I look up, and there are 6 distinct white lights that are all in a row, and they're flying up and to the right in complete unison. There's an equal distance between all of them. They're moving at a steady, slow pace. None of the lights are blinking. And I immediately go, "I have no idea what that is."
So that could,
And
I wonder if that is the Tesla satellite. Because remember, if you remember
right,
right,
well, so
they were
someone
coming
mentioned that.
they were coming over Ohio, and you could see like they were all separated. Had
Well,
No.
so
yeah.
well, so here's the problem with that, because I had shown this picture to another friend of mine, and he mentioned the same thing. And I was like, "Well, here's the thing, though. They were like this, and they're moving, like I said, all in unison from where they start in that picture to the upper right, which is how they're blurring, and they were like that for about, I would say, a minute and a half ish, and then all of a sudden, boom, all of them just go dark. They all just disappear.
Hmm.
Now, there wasn't, I could see that there wasn't any cloud cover either. So it's not like they just all vanished behind a cloud together. They just all, boom, gone, disappeared.
Yeah. Into the Tesla satellite
Starlink. That's what I was thinking.
Starlink
Yeah.
piece, and I've seen a bunch of Starlink satellites. As a matter of fact, if anybody has view of space, you can almost always see Starlinks. Like I have the Starwalk app where you take the app up and you point it in the sky and it tells you what's going overhead, and you can see Starlink flying, and they will fly in unison, similar to kind of what you have, Sean, but the spacing is nowhere near what you have whatsoever. This is like a I'm trying to even think how to describe what this looks like to viewers who don't have access to this as they're listening to it until we get this posted. But like,
Right. So there's if you kind of zoom into it,
yeah,
you can the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so dots are pretty distinctive, and you can kind of see
right,
them all kind of like there's a definite space between them. And like I said, they're all kind of just they're blurring because of the exposure of the photo is so long. So I had from the time that my nephew pointed it out. Here's what happened. I immediately flashed back to my other UFO experience. I thought, well, this time I'm ready. I got my phone in my hand, right? I was playing with my phone. I'm taking a picture of this immediately. So I took the first farther away picture, and it's kind of like one of those click, wait, click. No, okay, first picture's done. Zoom in, click, wait, click. Okay, that one's done. And it's like I could tell, that, it's blurry because it's trying to get the lighting right. So then I try to I go into my settings and try to be like, oh, just give me the skies. I want to see if I can just click on that or to just look at the actual black sky and just the clear dots.
right.
And I tried to do that. I took a picture. It just all came out black. It wasn't going to work. So then I went to video, try to do a video, all black. It's not going to work. I go back to the original camera settings to take another picture. Boom, that's when they're gone. So like I said, all that probably took place within about a minute and a half.
And
I'm go ahead.
well, what I was going to say is, were the whites or the whites were the lights constant white like before?
Yeah. They're it was the same. They pretty much the same distance those guys are at. Those guys felt farther away than my first experience.
And to our listeners who might be thinking, well, there are drones that fly in sequence. I can tell you from this photo, there's no public drone that's going to be able to fly that high. So we can kind of debunk.
Yeah.
We can debunk the
definitely
theory
felt
of a
airplane
drone.
level.
I think from that photo. What's your thoughts, Brian?
I think this is just really interesting. Sean, was there any noise or was it just silent?
No noise, silence again.
And this looks like, we were talking distance before, and I know what you were kind of where you were thinking this may have landed. We were saying, let's call it a half a mile for safety's sake. Like the distance on this, and it's very hard to tell because it's up in the sky, but you do have the reference point of the backside of the pond and some trees. This looks like this is really far away.
Yeah, that one felt more like it was the distance of like a regular airplane that you'd see in the sky.
Right.
So I guess just to rule out the whole Starlink thing, because I know that people are going to be like, obviously from this photo, it stores the date and time, and we could go back and research the Starlink to find out where exactly the satellites were at that particular time, and that would go ahead and just debunk all those thoughts out there like, oh, those are just satellites. But looking at the image, I mean, you can distinctly see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 on that one right there. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 10. 1, 2, 3,
It's hard
4,
to tell
right.
because the exposure.
Yeah.
For sure, at least 5,
6.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there's 7. Again,
from
number
memory,
7.
From memory, I remember. Yeah, it was around 6 to 8, somewhere around there, maybe. But like I said, they were all equally spaced, all in that same diagonal straight line, all moving exactly in sync with each other, and then just all of a sudden gone. And you can see from the exposure of the camera too. That's a clear sky. There's no clouds anywhere around them.
Oh yeah, you can pick out stars. I mean, I can pick a 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, actually, that might be Orion's belt right there. I mean, you can distinctly pick out stars. So I mean, that's definitely does not fit into the night sky. So at this moment, you're out there with your nephew, right?
Mm.
What was
immediately.
What was going through his mind?
I started taking pictures.
Like what was he what was his thoughts, man? Like, I mean, how old is he?
He's like 12-ish.
All right.
I don't
So,
know exactly.
so what's a teen's, almost a teen's, like, what's his thoughts going on right now? He's
I
out there
yeah,
trying to,
I kept trying to press him too, and I was like, "Well, what do you think it is? Do you think it's aliens?" Like, what? He's just like, "I don't know. Let's go. Let's keep fishing." And it's just kind of it was just like
just
a
typical, you get
you
three
know,
shits. It's just, I'm focused on this one
I
thing.
and I couldn't help but to be reminded of myself in that, holy crap, like I just saw something my brain can't comprehend. Let me just go back to default mode. Let me just go back to what I was doing so I don't have to think about it, right? Because
Mm.
it raises a lot of questions that you don't know the answers to.
Do
And your
you
brain is just kind of like, you know what? Let's just pretend it didn't happen.
do you think there's any correlation from because these both happened at the same spot? Like, well,
Hmm.
your viewpoint was the same spot. Do you feel like there's any correlation from what you saw the first time to the second time, or no?
Um, I mean, obviously, I would say there's here's the biggest differences. One, the first experience, I felt like it was a lot closer. Two, the first experience, it moved a lot more erratically and it looked like it landed. Three, these felt like very farther away and moving in a different direction. The similarities are they were both solid white lights. They were both in the same area. And, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before.
And
So,
to our listeners, just give you an idea where we're at here in Ohio. So we only have like one major military base, and that's down in Dayton that I know of. And where this was taking up northwest. So I
It's
don't,
an hour north of Dayton.
yeah. So I don't see that being like training grounds or flight for any type of military training. And typically, from my experience, military planes do not fly in a straight line. Like they don't tail each other. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
They're usually offset that way.
So,
right. Yeah. These guys looked like they were single file, all going to the same spot.
and Sean,
And,
the
to
photo.
bring it back to,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so obviously, one of the first people I share this story to is my dad, the guy who got me into this. And his first theory was, well, they're all flying single file to go through a portal, and that's why they all disappeared at the same time.
All right.
I was like, yeah, all right, that's a theory, sure.
So I was going to ask you. So I know roughly how the house is situated. So this photo, I assume, is taken looking to the west. Is that accurate?
Right. So the first, I don't know my directions as well as I should. I'm sitting on the dock. Like all
Yeah.
right,
So
if I'm
looking
standing
out
on the
over the
dock,
pond, you're looking west. And what I'm getting at is this object or this series of objects looks like it's diagonaling to the right. So it's kind of going from south to north then.
I'll take your word for it. I would need to look
Okay.
at a map to know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
That's
it's
pretty
like if you were
wild.
standing on the dock and then looking slightly to the right and up,
and
whatever direction that is.
there wasn't any other like a meteor shower, comments, anything like that
Nope.
in the night sky. All of a sudden, these things just appear.
Right.
Well, and Sean said that these were going from like these looked like they had taken off from ground surface and were going up, right?
Correct. Correct.
Did you see them come from the ground and go up, or like
No, well, like I said, I was kind of like, I think I had a fishing pole in one hand and my phone in the other. And then my nephew says, "What's that?" And that's when I looked up and saw it.
Well, I mean, if you think about if you're looking in the daytime, or even at night, you see something in the distance. It looks closer to the ground, like it's just above the horizon. But as it starts getting closer, obviously it's going to be higher than what it was when you first initially saw it. So they may not have like what he captured may not have just took off from the ground, but they could have been traveling for some distance before he actually captured them, or to his dad's theory of getting ready to go through a portal.
yeah?
Hmm.
What do you think you saw, Sean?
Um, you know, I'll tell you what I think I didn't see. I don't think it was an airplane. I don't think it was a helicopter. I don't think it was a drone. I don't think it is any type of vehicle that I've ever seen in the sky before. In terms of, you could, I think this is probably one of the banes of the entire extraterrestrial enthusiast community is it alien or is it government tech? Because it's probably one of the two. But because here's the thing, it's like, because in terms of what we're allowed to see, I'm sure they got some crazy shit from the government does that we're not allowed to see. But then you also think, well, what are they actually capable of creating? Like, you think that if they were able to create something that could zigzag through the sky like that and do a semicircle and land in that crazy pattern, that would be something that they would be using in the battlefield. So I don't know. My gut says UFO, but I don't know.
Me personally, I'm ruling out any type of military stuff because we're not in a high volume military area of aircraft. So it would be, I mean, I don't know what their flight power. I mean, we could be sitting in our backyard and we have those C-130s or whatever flying over, right? Those are like the training for some of the Air Force, whatever, Air National Guard in our area. But I mean, maybe out of Dayton, maybe there are some type of crazy ass aircraft flying around, but I think we would see a lot more of this than just.
It seems like it's just a true unknown. What makes it so interesting is that you were in the same place and you saw two different events that were anomalous.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I mean, like, if you look at the photos, I mean, it's literally he's sitting in the same spot.
You know what pisses me off about this? I have sat on that dock a lot of times and drank a lot of beers, and I've never seen shit.
You're just not the chosen one, man.
I guess
not. I know, but you bet your ass every time I'm out there now. I'm looking up at the skies.
Yeah, right.
So,
wow.
All right, Sean. Well, it was great having you on, and I'm sure.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I'm sure that we'll probably have you on here in the future. Brian, you want to do a little recap?
Yeah, Sean, I appreciate you calling in, man. The stories were interesting. What's interesting is I've known you for a long time, and I've never known those stories until your dad said, "Hey, you should have Sean on sometime. He had a UFO story," and I was like, "No shit. How has that never come up in conversation?" So,
well, again, it just happened a couple of years ago, really too.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of, do you feel like, and just real quick, do you feel like that's interesting because you lived in LA for, whatever, 15, 18 years, whatever you said it was, but it wasn't until you moved back to Ohio that like all of a sudden these series of events kind of occurred. Do you find that odd, or do you think there was I don't know. You have any thoughts on it?
Yeah. I mean,
maybe he's just brought crazy back with him from LA.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. Well, I'll leave you guys with this. So I've never had any real paranormal experiences before I moved back home. But in addition to having those two different UFO experiences, I've also captured a ghost on camera as well. So maybe we can talk about that next time.
Oh, that'd be definitely worth another episode right there.
I like the teaser. Right. I'm in.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So again, Sean, thanks again for coming on to the podcast today. It was a great conversation. Loved hearing your experiences, and they're definitely the photos. I hope I can figure out a way to post these to where our listeners can actually see these, but they're very intriguing. I mean, it does make yourself question. But yeah, man, great podcast. I like this one.
We'll have to talk to the executive director of editing and see if she can't figure out how to stick that in there.
Yeah, we're having. Yeah,
I bet you it's possible. I think there's a way.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. But.
All right. Well, to everybody out there, we hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. Hope you got to spend some good time with friends and family. And until next time, keep your eyes on the sky. Keep your mind open. You never know what's going to fly by.
And on that, we'll catch you on the next one.